Thank you very much for coming. I'm really happy that you joined because, so my name is Katarina. Maybe I start with that. Jumping from one place to another, tuning in. My name is Katarina Fortun. I come from DG Klima, and today, together with Frederic and also the Secretariat of the Climate Pact, we are going to walk you through this session. So the agenda for today is to present the European Climate Pact and why do we need it? What is there for cities? Then I'm really happy that there are cities that came here to share their ways of engaging with community at local level, so with citizens, with local providers, and really having these pioneers is very, very useful. Because we are currently developing and co-creating these local climate pacts. So we need inspiring stories and lessons learned, what works. Now, and the pact, the Secretariat of the Pact that is carried out and together with the DG Klima, will really present what is in for cities in very concrete terms, like in pledging, how this would work. So really presenting the technical part of the Climate Pact. And I believe that in 90 minutes, we will really have time for questions and to have the time to answer them. And I would really, I would be happy if we can have it more as a debate, really of sharing and what we can do together. So today it could be a bit like kickoff workshop. And if you wish to join us, the cities that are here or other cities, we can continue co-creating under the Covenant of Mayors and Climate Pact. Because as you know, and as you have heard in the morning session, the engagement part is now very prominent in the new covenant. So this is the image of the Climate Pact. So it's a new baby launched by DG Klima, launched by the Commission. Indeed, it's the reply and answer response to, sorry, I ignore. It's the response to how do we implement European Green Deal on the ground? So the European Climate Pact was launched within the European Green Deal with the aim to really implement the Green Deal locally, together with people. Now, next slide, please. I really like this image. It makes me think where I am. So now we are in COVID, hopefully phasing out. And I do have some nostalgia for going to normal, but my nostalgia is more for really the human touch. And I would love that today we are in Brussels, even though we have to be mindful about the mobility, but that we can be more together as people, and that at the same time, normal to me, I really question if it was normal to have so much, detachment also in the meaning of noise and the air pollution, the energy dependence where we are. Also, when I see the people working there, I do wonder how necessary it is to really go somewhere every day and go home only to sleep, which really brings questions of the families and good life. And when I talk about good life, I think that to me, the European Green Deal is about good life and what do we want for us, for people and for nature. So now there is the time of COVID where we stop. We really have the chance to see where we are and to wish for a better future, to have dreams. So to me, the question is, instead of going back to normal, could we rather go a way forward and live in cities that are with green and blue infrastructure, where we have nature-based solutions to adaptation and to also to mitigation, where we are independent or autonomous in our energy supply, so very relevant to the prices at the moment, and where we also have time to really live within the community. I very much like the concept from Paris of the 15-minute city, where we discover the neighborhoods, we discover also the neighbors. So the sustainable mobility, to have cities where taking a bike is okay, it's possible. Also that our children can use bike, we can have sustainable ways of moving, so public transport, trains, of course, within Europe. If we can have, cities that are comfortable. Next slide, please. Now for that, first we asked Europeans, so we asked people what they think. And the good news is that 96% of Europeans already have taken at least one action to tackle climate change. Now, another good news is that we all share that the current normal is really a problem. So we do share that climate change is a serious problem, 93% of Europeans. And the third important data that I took for today's presentation is really this commitment to become climate neutral. And what do people think about it? And 90% of Europeans believe that we need to reduce the CO2 emissions, the gas emissions, not only CO2 emissions, to become EU climate neutral by 2050. Next slide, please. Yeah, so second important thing within the pact is to really go local and to bring local narrative, to bring local story. Because it's not about me from Brussels telling people how to live and what to do and how to move. And so I believe that we really need people on the ground. So I'm very glad that you are here. We need cities because you are the game changers. You are the one at the front line. You are the government closest to citizens. You also have this relationship of trust. And you know the reality, you know what happens in your town, in your city, in your village, because you live there. So it is, the European Climate Pact is about really bringing the narrative of local challenges, of local life. So I bring two examples. One is about wine. So it's from Bordeaux wine, where a Bordeaux wine company developed wine, how it would taste when we don't take action. So how would that wine taste in 2050? And when people tried it, wine lovers actually got touched, like, we don't really want that wine. And in order to preserve what we love, I also love wine, then I'm motivated to take action. So the local narrative is really important to touch people's interests and why they would like to move, what is important to them. And another example comes from football. So football fans, we have UEFA on board within the Climate Pact. I will not have time to play the video, but I do encourage you, if the presentation is shared, you can play the video. It's 1.5 minutes, where actually there is a message to football fans about water, about the grass and the field that they love to watch and the game that they love. So, and the video is really nicely done, that it's saying goodbye to it's about the last match in Europe, maybe elsewhere as well. So there is lots of nostalgia and really making it visual, making it visual, like what can happen and how serious the climate change is. Next slide, please. And this is why we have the European Climate Pact, to really have this space where we care about people, we bring awareness, we also trigger action, encourage, inspire action. So it's a lively space where we bring everyone together. And when I say everyone, it's for cities, it's for businesses, it's for citizens to make individual pledges. For academia, we have youth strand, a very prominent strand. We really want, of course, media, we want everyone on board to co-create together what we can do. So every action matters and every small step matters. If I take a bicycle instead of a car, if I take a local food instead of imported banana. So every action matters, and it's really about empowerment of people. Next slide. And yeah, so I wanted to bring this these images here, these pictures here, they are real people, and they are our Climate Pact Ambassadors. So at the moment, we have received more than 1,000 applications. We are now onboarding. We haven't expected so much interest, so it takes slower than we thought, but at the moment we have like 600 people onboarded, among them 200 young people from 15 to 30 years old. And together we are supporting them, and together we are co-creating really the action on the ground. So what do they need? So they move to action. How can we support them from the Commission, also through the cities? So today we will have one Climate Pact Ambassador also within the section from the Secretariat. And also I wonder, now that we will hear the stories from cities, how do you engage with citizens and with climate activists on the ground? And how could Climate Pact Ambassadors and the Climate Pact support you and help you? And with this, I hand over to Frederic and to cities, to your stories. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Katerina, for this introduction and those nice faces. I'm not in there yet. I'm not an ambassador of the Covenant.
Me neither, but I will.
But I recognize some faces. The mayor of Warsaw is there. I see Catherine Riken from Leuven, and I think Katarina Lur is also who was speaking before in the Covenant ceremony, is also among the first ambassadors. So really happy to have you here. I am coordinating the Covenant of Mayors Office for Europe for some years already, and today we have identified together with the Climate Pact Secretariat some inspiring stories, coming from some cities across Europe, and this is, we want to try to show how those different cities in different contexts are engaging their community. So I will be happy today to moderate this panel with Gitte Larsen. She's a chief consultant in the Climate Secretariat of Elsinore in Denmark. Christian Rother, he's the climate protection manager in the Department of Labor, and not in the Department of Environment, but Department of Labor and Economic Development in Munich, Germany. Said El Kadraoui, who is an EU expert. He's been a former member of the European Parliament, and he works for Leuven 2030 in Belgium. And finally, Ana Cristina Costa, she's responsible for education on sustainable development in Portugal in the city of Braga. So today you heard, for those who attended the first part of the ceremony, that we've launched a new phase of the Covenant, a very important one, aligning the initiative with the new EU framework, with the new ambition, climate neutrality by 2050 at the latest. And a very important element, cross-cutting to the different sectors that cities are working on and that signatories are supposed to work on: mitigation of climate change, adaptation to climate change, and the alleviation of energy poverty. A cross-cutting thing is to get the community on board. And that's why, as part of this new Covenant of Mayors that we call the Covenant 2.0 or the Covenant 2050, we are also asking that mayors commit to organize or to develop with their community a local climate pact. So today we're going to give you, the panelists are going to give you some examples of how they are engaging the citizens, and that can be an inspiration for you to do so. I will stop sharing my screen and pass the floor to Gitte Larsen from Elsinore. Elsinore was a very long history of citizens' participation to green the city. So I would kindly ask Gitte to tell us a little bit more about the way you are engaging your citizens. Gitte, the floor is yours, and if you want, you can share your screen.
Thank you very much. Am I sharing my screen right now? Or is it not working?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, I'll try again. Like this. Am I sharing now?
No. So I can try, because I should have the backup of your presentation, and I can try to do that for you. Just a second. Of course, that doesn't work on my screen either. So no, Gita, I'm sorry, I cannot help you from my side because the PDF I have doesn't open.
Okay, so maybe I just have to talk without. So you just have to imagine Elsinore. Sorry. Hello, my name is Gitte Larsen, and I represent the Municipality of Elsinore. And I'm very honored to be invited to share how we work in Elsinore. First, I will tell you a bit about our municipality. It's the city of Elsinore has developed a lot during the last 800 years, from a very small fishing village to now a world-class modern culture town. And we are close to the coast. We have a 30 kilometers long coastline, and that's a very important part of our identity. And at the same time, the inland part of the municipality is rich of forests, lakes, and open areas. Our municipality covers an area of 122 square kilometers, and we have currently a population of 63,000 citizens. And I'll try to explain how we work with our citizens. And first of all, when we work with planning and making visions for climate and sustainability, we invite our citizens for workshops to involve them in the work and discuss the targets. And in addition to that work, we just had a temporary climate committee with politicians, local organizations, and companies to inspire the municipality by proposing instruments and activities to realize our ambitions. The committee had finalizing workshops with other citizens too, and at that workshop several initiatives were added, and the result is that we now have 54 initiatives described this summer for further actions. We also engage our citizens in the green mobility. It's a very important task for us. And this summer, our city council approved a strategy for developing the establishing of charging infrastructure. And because we want to make it an easier choice to drive green. And 3 weeks ago, we arranged a big market day in Elsinore, where our citizens could come, and they were invited to come and try and drive electric cars, and also to talk with people who have been driving electric cars for years. So talk about how is the daily life, and is that different from having a normal car. And of course, we also run a lot of campaigns for biking. And right now we run campaigns to get people back in the public transport after COVID-19. So concerning nature and biodiversity, as I said, we have a high share of nature. 70% is forest, grassland, lakes, and wetland. And we have a local group of citizens who has established a climate garden on municipal ground. We placed it close to a school and a lot of public housing. And the garden is run by volunteer citizens, and it's open to everybody. We also activate our citizens in the work with biodiversity by making wild gardens and bee gardens. We give advice to our citizens how to make these nature-friendly management of their gardens, and we developed a mix of seeds made for the purpose of attracting bees and other insects. And at our schools, we run a project called Biodiversity at Child Height. It's to involve the children and show them how they can do a difference themselves. We're also very concerned about the climate and energy renovation of houses. And every year we carry out campaigns directly addressing homeowners. And last year we implemented a new concept where the citizens, together with an invitation, also receives an easy access to data on their own house, and where they get the climate and economical benefits described for different change scenarios. And actually, we just had a new national survey showing that house owners in Elsinore, when they choose to renovate their houses, they have a higher climate awareness than other municipalities in Denmark. And we are very lucky that we also have a local Agenda 21 group, voluntary citizens who concerns about the climate and sustainability. And with grants from the municipality, they just arranged 3 days, climate days here in the city, engaging other citizens. And we think it's very strong when our citizens engage other citizens, that it's not always the municipality talking. And last of all, our vision is also to influence our children and the youth, and to teach them how to be responsible. And right now we focus on climate change and the sea that surrounds us, and we make it possible for the schools to use their own local climate data for water, heat, and electricity. And we develop teaching material and competition to learn the kids that they can do a difference themselves. And it's not only to learn the kids something, it's actually also because we think that when our 6,500 kids go back to the parents, they talk about what they learned in school today, and in that way we bring the climate discussion home at the dining table, and we reach out to a lot of people. So yes, that was what I would like to tell. Thank you for listening.
No, thank you very much, and congratulations to what Elsinore is doing. I think again you demonstrated that you're engaging different generations of your citizens on different sectors. That's also what made you a finalist of the European Green Leaf competition. That shows that you're delivering a very good job in Elsinore. So congratulations. I will now pass the floor to Christian Roth, so the climate protection manager in the city of Munich in labor and economic development. And Munich is also a very committed city in terms of climate and energy. And beyond what you're doing in the city as a manager of public services, you are also engaging the industry into the transition. So Christian, can you tell us more about that, please?
Yes, perfect. Thank you very much, Frederic and Katharina, for the introduction and the invitation. I'm very happy to share with you some insights on our climate pact. I will try to share my presentation with you. Give me 1 second. Does it work?
Yes, that works. Yeah.
So
we don't see it full screen, but we can see your presentation.
Okay, we changed that. So now?
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. So as I said, this is also called Climate Pact. It's our Climate Pact with local major companies here. And as you said, I work for the Department of Labor and Economic Development as Climate Protection Manager. So in my case, engaging the community is not about the citizens, at least not directly. We work together with Munich's companies and businesses. Some words on the background, climate protection in Munich. In 2019, our city council declared the climate emergency, like many cities did. And in the same session, the city council decided on very ambitious climate targets. So we have the target for the whole city of Munich becoming climate neutral by 2035. And for the city's administration, so for all of our departments and all the areas that we control directly, we wanted to go a step further and set the target to 2030. So very ambitious target. Climate neutrality 2035, by the way, is defined as 0.3 tons of CO2 emissions per year and per capita. When you think that at the moment we have around about 6 tons of CO2 emissions per year and per capita, so it's quite a way to go. So achieving this target really needs effort in different fields of actions, and all these different fields of actions are brought together in our so-called integrated action program for climate protection, where all the different departments of the city of Munich sit together and discuss measures to achieving this target. And we at the Department of Labor and Economic Development, we try to support the companies in Munich to run their business as sustainable and climate friendly as possible, to do their part to becoming climate neutral. And our ambition is that we create attractive and, more important, effective measures for small and medium-sized companies on the one hand, but also for the big multinational companies that we have quite a lot in Munich from different branches and sectors. And this is more or less our current portfolio, how we engage with the industry in Munich. We always talk about 3 pillars that we work in. We have funding programs on the one hand. So if a company decides to build a new site or renovate the old one, we give grants for energy efficient and climate protection projects, for consulting, as well as for some investments. Then we have a pillar that we call consulting and information, in which we run very individual projects with companies here in Munich. And we run an information campaign for several years now. And the last pillar, maybe the most important one, is our networking program. So to start in the middle, we have EcoProfit. It's an own trademark. It's an environmental management systems for smaller and medium-sized companies. We always say if a company runs through this program, then they can achieve more or less 60 to 80% of the requirements for an ISO 14000 certification. So it's a environmental management system for beginners, for starters, so to say. And we have a program with special business parks here in Munich, where we bring together the different stakeholders in this area. And this is what I want to talk about today in particular, is our climate pact with our big companies here in Munich. So what is our climate pact about? It's a climate agreement with 15 of Munich's major companies. On the lower right, you see the picture of the signed agreement, and maybe you can spot the logos of the companies. So these are really the big players that you all know, like BMW or MAN, Allianz, Munich Re, just to name a few. And all these companies cover nearly 100,000 employees in Munich. So the Climate Pact is a lighthouse project, and it can really be or have a multiplying effect. So in this way, we also reach to our citizens, of course. And these companies, they committed to a voluntary carbon reduction target that these companies achieve by implementing climate projects at their sites in Munich. And by doing so, the Climate Pact already led to a reduction of almost 60,000 tons of CO2 emissions since 2016. But this is only one part of our Climate Pact. Another big issue is that we try to promote the collaboration and professional exchange among these companies and between these companies with the city administration. So we try to, and I think we achieved an atmosphere of trust where people know each other, and it's more easy to contact each other because all of these companies face more or less the same challenges regarding climate protection and sustainability. It's really a working atmosphere here. Down on the left, you see the picture of our last ceremony where we kicked off the current phase of the Climate Pact. Don't wonder the picture was taken in November 2019, so don't wonder why these people don't wear masks or stand so close to each other. Was before COVID. And at the moment, the most important pillar of the Climate Pact is that we try to implement new joint climate protection projects. So we would like to bring these companies together, that they really work together. At the moment, these are smaller, low-level projects. For example, next week, we start a common gamification app with which we try to motivate the employees of these companies for more sustainable behavior. But these are first projects, and we would like to develop these common projects further. So, yeah, that's it. This was a small and short introduction to our Climate Pact. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christian, and very inspiring. You will hear a bit later from the Climate Pact Secretariat that this is exactly what they are trying to support. What you mentioned at the end about how a company can also engage its employees, and they have different support they can provide for you to that. Before passing and going a bit south of Europe to Portugal, I would like to I was muted in the meantime because Anna Cristina will give you the floor in a minute. Yeah, if the participants can go on the Mentimeter and let us know whether their city is already developing a kind of formal local climate pact or process of engagement of the citizens. That would be very interesting. So, so my colleague Thibaut is sharing the results. So please vote. So far, only one person has been voting, but we would like to. That's very important for us to know whether there is an interest in the future and whether we should develop also some activities again together with the Climate Pact Secretariat on these type of things. So feel free to vote on the Mentimeter. We give you a minute to connect, and in the meantime, I can announce and present again Ana Cristina Costa, who is the responsible for education on sustainable development in the city of Braga, Portugal. So actually your title, responsible for education on sustainable development, says a lot about the intention of your city to engage, to raise awareness. So, so Ana Cristina, we will be very curious to hear about what your city is doing to engage the citizens. And for the participants, take your time to answer. We will show the results, or anyway, share it at the end of the meeting. So Ana Cristina, the floor is yours.
Okay. Let me see if I can share my presentation.
You should be able to do it. Do you find the way to do so?
I think so.
Yeah,
Let me see.
yeah, your
Is
presentation
it
is
working?
opening.
Okay.
Yeah, you can make it full screen.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's right. Okay. So good morning to everybody. What I will be presenting is the situation of Braga, town in Portugal, and what we are doing with the volunteers, including schools, associations, and enterprises, everything. So we are in the north of Portugal, south of Europe. We have around 193,000 inhabitants, and in an area of 183 square kilometers. So the situation of the forest in Braga is it belongs to private owners, and it is a very small areas. So every owner, we have a lot of owners, and every owner has a very small area. So the effect of it is not profitable. It's not. There's no really interest of being devoting time for the forest. So the result is we have a lot of invasive plants and we have a lot of forest fires, because the kind of plants they plant on that small areas is something which grows very fast, and so is eucalyptus trees coming from Australia and pinus trees. Both of them have a very combustible material. So in such an area as in the south of Europe, which, as you know, is very warm, even if in Braga we have a lot of rain, we are the most wet town in Portugal. We have a lot of plants, which is very easy to burn, especially if we start burning materials, leftovers of forest and agriculture, as is very traditional to do. So what we decided to do was to plant a lot of forest, especially in public areas. So we invited schools, associations, enterprises, everybody to plant as volunteers. So they can plant in the areas which around the schools, in the case of schools or enterprises, or associations, or they can plant in public areas which we decide. I mean the municipality. So we have two periods of time where when we decide to plant, it is in November, because it's the time when it's cold enough and wet enough to survive the plants. But in March, a lot of people want to plant because it's a very known period, the 21st of March. So what we do is we offer plants for associations and schools to plant around the area of the school, because there they can put some water, they can water the plants, and then they have more probability of survival. So we have a park which is in the center town, and it was full of invasive plants years ago, and it was a very social problem, a very big one, because a lot of prostitution and situations like that, and people using drugs. So we decided to renew it, that area, and planting plants which are adapted for our climate, so autochthonous plants. So we invite a lot of people to do so as volunteers, and schools said yes, and they went, and a lot of citizens went as well on weekends to do that. So the control of invasive plants in that areas and in rivers as well, we invited volunteers to join us, and we are trying to control it. We say control because it's impossible to make them to disappear completely. So we are controlling every year, but we have plenty of different species which are invasive. So another project which is including volunteers and to avoid our problem with fires is the municipality bought some equipment to crush the material leftovers from agriculture and forest. So we receive the contact of the owners of that area, so we share the leftovers, and we use to burn it as a tradition. And the problem is to burn that material sometimes starts forest fires. And in 2017, we had huge forest fires. We had a ring of fire around the town, and the quality of the air in the town was really, really bad. And we had a lot of areas burned and problems with erosion, pollution of the water, so a lot of bad situation. So after that, we realized we need to change the situation. And so we invited the people we share leftovers to contact us, and then the equipment goes to their houses of forest or agricultural land and crush the material, making bits of wood, and then it stays on the ground to avoid evaporation and to increase the organic material on the soil. So it's a good solution for helping to keep the moisture on the soil and to avoid forest fires. Another project which is including a lot of people is a project which came from Spain years ago, and we decided to adopt because it was interesting to have a river which was a big problem in center town, crossing the center town. And so what we decided, we invited people to join us and dividing the river, which has 18 kilometers in our county, we divided in half kilometers, so 500 meters, and one group of adopt each part of that. So each half kilometer was adopted from schools, associations, enterprises. And what they need to do, they need to go twice a year to check out how the quality of water, if the area is suffering from erosion, if needs another plant in the gallery, so riparian gallery. And so a lot of things they can write on the report, and then they can make it better. So they can have a campaign to make it better at least once a year. So now that area, that river, which was a big problem, now is all adopted. So the 18 kilometers in Braga, and we made a presentation about the ecosystem. So the people, bit by bit, is respecting more the river. They are enjoying the river to walk around, to bicycle around. So we have eco paths, people to go in skates, in bicycles, or walking, doesn't matter. So to enjoy the river and enjoy the environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anna Cristina. So really learning by doing, in that case, with the people participating in the cleaning of your river, and understanding the importance of having a green environment. I think, Anna Cristina, maybe there's on your side that there is a bit of background noise. I'm cutting your microphone. Now, last but not least, Said El Kadraoui, you work in Leuven. Leuven was awarded the European Green Leaf some years ago, but more recently also awarded the EU Capital of Innovation. And not for technical innovation, but actually for innovating in the way they are governing the transition. So very impressive steps taken in this Belgium city. So can you tell us more about that, Said?
Yes, thank you, Frederick. I hope you can see my presentation. Great.
Yes, perfect. Yeah.
So it's a real pleasure to be with you today and to say a few words about the model that Leuven has developed to manage the climate transition. Obviously, the Leuven approach has evolved over time. It's a learning process, and I guess that it will continue to evolve. It is a medium-sized city with about 100,000 inhabitants, but on top also 50,000 students. So very dynamic, very lively. It was actually back in 2013 that the Leuven University suggested in a study on the climate transition commissioned by the city, that it would be good to create a specific structure or a legal entity, bring together all the key stakeholders using the quadruple helix model in order to start reflections on the many challenges, and also to co-create together solutions, mobilize citizens, launch concrete projects. And that is how Leuven 2030 was created back in 2013, supported by an impressive number of local partners, including small and big companies, art centers, the local football teams, NGOs, etc. And soon after, also individual citizens could join as well. And in the governance structure of Leuven 2030, the different categories of stakeholders have a guaranteed representation in order to avoid that the big players would monopolize the discussions. So basically, there was already an understanding that the climate transition is actually about much more than only technological innovation, but it's also about social innovation, about a new way of working together, new governance model. And in the early days, I must say, Leuven 2030 focused very much on raising awareness. You need to start somewhere, raising awareness to make people understand the sense of urgency, the challenges and opportunities of the climate transition. For instance, by organizing a climate week or a zero emission camping, taking over the public space or playgrounds in schools to trigger discussions with workshops or initiatives in support of recycling and these kind of things. Later, more tangible, more ambitious projects were developed, for instance, on renewable energy generation, but still very much project-based. And the next step, in 2018, 2019, was to develop a comprehensive roadmap towards a climate-neutral city on the basis of scientific evidence, addressing actually all the key systems that define the way we live and work, including energy, mobility, and food. And the roadmap actually consists of 13 programs with 80 clusters around these topics, around renovation of buildings, sustainable transport consumption, energy generation, etc. It was duly signed, this roadmap, by all people that matter in Leuven and who committed themselves to achieve a number of very concrete and verifiable objectives. And the whole transformation is also being coordinated by these program managers. These are experts from the city, but also from Leuven 2030, or from public and private partners that allow these people to work like 1 day a week or so for the follow-up of the programs. And this approach was obviously very innovative in itself, but soon came also the understanding that the roadmap somehow created artificial silos that do not capture fully the complexity of the climate transition. For instance, the connection between energy and mobility, the circular economy as a very much as a horizontal cross-sector issue. And in addition, it remained a kind of an incremental approach, right? And that's why, together with EIT Climate Kick and a number of other cities and organizations, we started to reflect on how we could transform this roadmap into a more systemic approach. And that is actually an ongoing exercise with a first wave of projects that have been identified and are being developed, for instance, around a district energy transition, around a particular borough of Leuven, Kesselo. I will speak more about it in a minute. And also a number of very transversal issues that deserve a little bit more attention, about governance, but also about financing, how to scale up pilot projects and about monitoring, for instance. And so a concrete example is about Kesselo, which is a borough very important in Leuven, about 30,000 citizens that kept growing actually over time and is facing traffic problems, etc. And the idea of this project is to develop a shared vision about the future of Kesselo that includes a smart and sustainable mobility plan and approaches to green the public space, and also create additional meeting points so that it really stays a strong community where people like to live together. Here you can see the kind of actions that could follow on this project. But the main objective, of course, is to do it together with the people living in Kesselo, ask their opinion. And this project actually started just a few months ago with a big survey based on 9 statements, asking people to come up with ideas for ideal streets, ideal squares, ideal Kesselo, basically, and no less than 3,500 people participated. A dedicated website has been developed where they could play with the streets and how they should be designed, etc. And then the second phase was about creating a citizens panel that built on the previous recommendations by the citizens. And the citizens panel worked together with experts from city and others to further fine-tune actually the plans. And now we are entering the third phase, which is about coming to real tangible proposals that would be put forward to the city council. And with this phase is again open to all citizens. So it's a kind of project in different steps, very much co-creative, where people use a number of tools to come up with their ideas. And this is, of course, something that includes also a number of feedback loops. It's about information dialogue, working together with people, diving into details with the citizens panel and experts, coming up with scenarios, but all the time also helped by a number of experts that can, make it real and tangible. The next phase is, of course, how will we implement the vision? It's not only about creating a shared vision about how you would like to see your neighborhood, but implementation is of the essence. And it should not be a responsibility of the public city authorities only. It should become a kind of a common endeavor. That is why the idea of civic contracting has come into play and is currently being investigated. And this civic contracting idea is about including a broad range of potential contractual commitments or arrangements that could be developed to make citizens and stakeholders commit to do their part of the effort in a very transparent way, ultimately also bundled on a kind of a platform that would be accessible to all. And obviously, the level of commitment can vary. For a citizen or a group of neighbors, it could mean that they commit to replace their car and use a mixture of mobility solutions instead, or buy more locally. And for a local shop owner to join a local distribution platform system, or for the public transport operator to accelerate the transition towards electric buses, or cooperate with smart mobility providers and so on. But this is all work in progress. We are testing this out. We are thinking of, okay, how should this platform look like? How can we make it, easy to access? And we hope, of course, that once this will be put in place, it gets traction and it will attract additional people and stakeholders to join actually this great mobilization effort. But more information, more news about this will follow later, and looking forward to questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Said, for this journey in Leuven's transition. I'm cautious of time, and I know we are running a bit late, and I really want to pass the floor to the colleagues of the Climate Pact Secretariat. But before doing so, I would like to ask, and also thanking you, all the panelists, for the contribution to this debate and inspiring the other cities and the Covenant of Mayors. Just in one sentence, what do you think is the main obstacle, the main challenge that you are facing in your city to engage the citizens, so that we can take that back home and see how we can support the community of signatories across Europe? So in one sentence, Gitte, can you tell us what is your main challenge?
I think our main challenge is the legislation. That's a significant constraint in terms of working across sectors and doing more innovative things together with our citizens.
So, okay, the legislation. Thank you very much. Christian.
Yes, in my case, with the Climate Pact, with the companies, it's the main challenge is how can we bring these companies to work together? So not everyone in his or her plant or site, but how can we bring them together, really work together, because this is where the most potential lies.
So beyond the commercial interest and the secret of their
exactly.
different products and everything, fully understood.
Exactly.
Anna Cristina?
Our main challenge is to invite people to join us. I mean, it's difficult to reach people. They are not very open to work with the municipalities for different reasons, political ones and others. And they are much more open to work with associations or other kind of entities. So it is very difficult to change that way of seeing the municipality.
Thank you, Anna Cristina. And finally, Said, what is your main challenge? Obstacle?
There are so many challenges, actually. I guess that the difficulty is to move from pilots to scaling up, really, and to really transform the whole city. And we are faced with a number of inconsistencies, you know, at different policy levels. For instance, with regard to taxation, how things are taxed, it's not like coherent and consistent. I think it requires, therefore, a kind of multi-level, multi-stakeholder kind of collaborations to identify these and to address these.
Thank you very much. I know about the multi-level governance, and I think the region in which you're staying in Leuven, Flanders, is doing quite a lot with the launch of a big climate pact. That's a topic, the multi-level governance, that is very important for the Covenant of Mayors, and we are trying to work on. So that's not the topic of today, but stay tuned, and you will see that we will try to support this better cooperation between local authorities and their national governments and Europe. And with Europe, it's already working pretty well, I think. So thank you again to the four panelists. And now I would like to pass the floor to Gabrielle from the Climate Pact Secretariat to explain how this new initiative and this new Secretariat can support the Covenant signatories in engaging their community. So Gabrielle, the floor is yours.
Excellent. Thank you, Frederic. And good afternoon all. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. And I'm excited that we have the opportunity to tell you all about the European Climate Pact and go into a bit more detail around what can be offered. And for me, you know, Katerina explained the basis and the principles behind the pact and its origins, but for me, really appreciate the wonderful design of this initiative is that everyone and every city has a place in the European Climate Pact. You can get involved whether you're just starting out on your climate action journey or you're already working to make a difference in the world. This initiative aims to bring together cities and other actors across the board to help the EU meet its goal to essentially become the first climate neutral continent by 2050. And there are many ways to get involved in the European Climate Pact, and we have an exciting lineup of speakers today to give you a flavor of what's on offer and what's in it for cities. And first up, I'll just do a quick intro. We have Barbara Pilz from the Pact's pledging team. She'll give us insights on ecosystem pledging and how easy it is for the Covenant of Mayors to get involved. Then we'll move to Tom Verger, who is leading on stakeholder engagement, and he'll be giving us some interesting insider information on what exchange networks are all about. And last but not least, we'll hear from Eric Levine, calling in from Costa Rica, no less. So you know he's dedicated to getting the word out about Count Us In and the community climate action there. So let's delay no further and dive right into it. Barbara, I'll hand over to you. The floor is yours. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Gabrielle. I will just quickly share my screen. Hopefully you'll be able to see it full screen very quickly. Can you all see it well? Okay, great. So as we've been hearing from everyone who has spoken about the European Climate Pact so far, is that the Climate Pact is a movement, and for that to be a movement, we need to make use of our ecosystem, of what is around us. And excuse me. So I'll give just a brief overview by what we mean by ecosystem pledging in the context of the Climate Pact. So first of all, to start from the beginning, what do we mean when we talk about making a pledge? Well, in the context of the Climate Pact, making a pledge means making a formal promise to respond to the climate challenge in a way that can be measured and or followed up. So that means that at the same time that we are taking a practical step, that we're taking a concrete action, a concrete climate action commitment, we also want to make sure that we are able to see the progress in there and make sure we are on the right track. And again, when it comes to ecosystem, that means an interplay between all actors. And I'm sure this little network here on the slide doesn't capture all the actors that are involved in bringing this movement forward. But what we see in the Climate Pact is that the European economy and the society can be viewed as an ecosystem where each player is somehow interconnected with others. And that is also true for cities, and cities play a very important role in being not only the arena in which these exchanges happen, but also enablers and active leaders in driving climate action. For some reason, my slides completely change of order. Sorry for that. So in terms of concrete steps, what can the Covenant of Mayors signatories already do? So cities that are renewing their commitment under the Covenant of Mayors upon explicit agreement can transform their political commitment into a European Climate Pact pledge to showcase out there that you are committed to what you're saying you are. And beyond giving this explicit agreement, there are no further steps required. If you want to hear more details about that, you can contact your point of contact at the Covenant of Mayors office, and they will give you more details on how that can work. And once that is done, those pledges will be showcased on the European Climate Pact website. And in addition of having this Covenant of Mayors commitment converted into Climate Pact pledge, cities can also make additional pledges through the Pact website, or also using climate and environmental data that they already disclose. So if your city is interested in knowing more about how you can showcase your commitments throughout all the areas of climate action, you can get in touch with us at contact@euclimatepact.eu. Please feel free to address the email directly to myself, Barbara Piltz from the Climate Pact Secretariat, and I'll be happy to help you with that. And as Frederick mentioned before, and also hearing the examples and the actions from the different cities, the Climate Pact is very much aligned with this idea of collaboration, that the value added of the Climate Pact is to foster this collaboration between different actors. So from a city perspective, that we go out of our own government unity, of our bubble, and that we bring together different actors so we can achieve those common goals. And in the pact, how we do that is through joint pledges. So for example, pledges that a city can, or promises, commitments that a city can do together with one or more actors, for example, their citizens, a business, their region, an NGO, a school, to achieve those common goals. And here I put two examples, and one of them was even mentioned by one of the panelists this morning in the discussions that we had, that, for example, a city and a company that is manufacturing charging stations for electric vehicles, they can make a joint pledge to increase those charging stations by a certain percentage by a certain year. Or, for example, if a city partners with the catering company providing meals to their public offices, they can pledge to make all meals meat-free by a certain year. And of course, we want to make sure that we are able to showcase everything that's being done, also to show our different cities' leaderships, but also to inspire others to join that movement. And for that, we have new digital releases coming into the Pact universe to be able to receive and display those joint pledges. And of course, we are here to help you in that. And if there's any support that you think that the European Climate Pact can give to enable that collaboration, please get in touch with us again through the contact mailbox, and we'll be happy to guide you on that. And of course, there's also other ways to engage the pact in the pact, and as Gabrielle said, very exciting. And for that, I'll give the floor to my colleague Tom to talk a little bit more about the exchange networks. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Just need to share my screen as well. I hope everybody can see this. Good. So yes, my name is Tom Vöge, also from the Climate Pact Secretariat. And as Barbara just said, I just want to take you very quickly through a very specific process. We are just in the process of kicking off to directly support cities and others. And I've stolen this diagram from Barbara's presentation. You've just seen this. So just to see which specific parts of this ecosystem, as we're always referring to it in the pact, we are looking at. So it's cities, of course, it's businesses, and it's associations, NGOs, civil society, all of that. And what we really want is to give a platform for these representatives of these three very specific sectors to come together around certain topics, to discuss, to exchange information, to learn from each other, but hopefully then also to inspire further cooperation beyond it, which might well also lead to the joint pledging we have just heard from Barbara. So what's in it for organizations? And I didn't write for cities because, as I said, we are targeting three, but I think this will equally apply to city representatives here in the call. So we want to give more visibility to the work you are doing, and do so by giving you this association with the EU Climate Pact on a more formal level. It would be an Europe-wide interdisciplinary network. So we realize a number of these networks exist already, but I think what is really special is here, it's breaking up silos. It's these three types of organizations and looking at a number of different topics. It's about the amplification of the work you're doing. And we heard great examples in the last bit, what is already happening. It's extremely encouraging to hear all this happening already, but this really can give you a voice and a platform to discuss this further. You will get a recognition of achievements. I've already spoken of the thematic but non-sectoral mix. So I think it's a good offer. This is the first one we are doing. So this is really the pilot phase to learn more from it. So the general objectives here are to give support to these three types of organizations. There will be 5 of these thematic networks. There will be a 3-month initial duration where there will be strong support from the Climate Pact Secretariat. The idea is that it would take on a life of itself later with more of a lighter touch from the Secretariat. One of the main parts here, apart from the discussions taking place and all of that, would be to build up a best practice library to inspire further cooperation and, as I said, a basis for joint pledging as well. We are kicking this off in the next week or two, actually, with the topic of sustainable mobility. We've just run a campaign on this as well. So this is a very timely topic for us, and I think a very central one. I mean, it came across in your presentation as well, how important a topic certainly for cities this is. Here we are specifically looking at citizens' engagement in transport policy discourse. In terms of businesses, we are particularly interested in those who might involve staff in green commuting and cooperation with cities that exist already, and really about making even more ambitious sustainability targets. Just very quickly, this is a small number. The idea is certainly after 3 months with this one, but also in the coming 4 networks that we will have a much wider group. This is on purpose a manageable number. We're looking at maximum 5 for the initial period for the 3 organizations. So you can here see the companies involved, the cities involved, and the cities have been specifically targeted for being very active in terms of citizens' participation in transport policy. And then also a number of, most of them Brussels-based European associations of public transport, of cyclists, of cities. Again, Pole is another city network looking very specifically at mobility there. So these are the initial ones that will be coming together. We will do this in a series of workshops to be discussing this and to build up this best practice library and hopefully inspire more cooperation pledging and all of that. But as I said, we will be opening that up to more members from all these 3 groups, but of course to cities. So if this is something of interest, and I hope we are having a product here really in the Climate Pact that is of interest to you, that really can help you, please do get in contact in the same way Barbara mentioned. So that concludes my presentation. I would then hand over to Eric to speak about the Counters In, that is the platform for the individual pledging and the dashboard they have developed to visualize their data.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tom. Let me see if I can everybody see my screen there?
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. So wonderful to be with all of you, and thank you for having me. I was really struck by the inspirational stories that were told by our colleagues from Belgium and Portugal and other cities across Europe, Munich and Elsinore. I think the first thing I wanted to say before just showing you a little bit of the early data that's coming in around individual pledges from across the Climate Pact was to speak to, I think Christina mentioned it, this question of like, how do we reach people and involve them, and who is the relationship that they're most likely to respond to. And I guess one of the things that I think is important to understand in the vision of the pact is, how do we reach people through relationships already in their life? And if I'm a citizen of a city, whether that comes through my employer and my role as an employee, as part of an employee initiative, taking individual action, or through a citizen group, or through a local museum that I go to with my family, or because I love my football club, as Katarina said kind of early on. These are all different initiatives and routes that we are partnering with, and I guess in supporting cities, what we're in a position to be able to do is to support cities to bring together all of those organizational stakeholders, kind of routes to engage citizens through relationships that are already in their lives around the things that people already love, because fundamentally we're trying to invite people to take action and make pledges in relation to the things that are worth protecting for them, right? And whether that's their football pitch or or their school community or whatever that is. And so I think that's a really important thing to understand, is that the way the pact is constructed and the way all of the data can flow for cities is to bring together these different routes of engaging citizens, inviting them to take action, and then being able to add all of that kind of up in the background. So as Tom said, we the kind of Count Us In group who are partnered with the pact. I wanted to show you just like a little bit of the data that is starting to come in from across these different touch points and platforms. So since the pact launched on the 16th of December last year, we've got just under 20,000 people who have taken just over a million what we call steps, different pledges, actions, some of them very small, some of them very meaningful in their life, and there's a quantitative aspect that we have methodologies for projecting the carbon calculation, so that we can do something else that is important for engaging people, which is to show them that the impact of their actions and what matters. And I can do this small thing, or I can do this big thing, and see what the kind of embodied carbon savings. Really pleased to see that action is coming from across 27 countries. You can see that these are kind of internal dashboards, but we can work with cities who have campaigns or efforts set up to set up dashboards that are that can work for you as a city. This is a nation by nation comparison where you can see the level of activity, the amount of carbon emissions that are kind of embodied in that, and we have the ability to it's all non-personal information, so kind of easy for us to slice and dice and kind of learn what is it that that people are doing. If I go back to kind of one screen earlier, we can dig into the kind of high level of what kinds of actions people are taking. So not just kind of the number of actions and the carbon impact, but so I'm doing mine live for you, so you can see the aggregator. It takes a sec just to. So if I go to all of the people who have taken action from the 16th of December, and I zoom into just our European Union, you'll see that I peeked at this earlier, that the kind of most impactful actions that people are taking are in the travel bucket in terms of carbon impact, but in sheer aggregate numbers, kind of home energy, home recycling, steps are the actions that people are taking in the biggest numbers. And so we can help cities support campaigns, mobilize all of the different routes that they can tap into their citizen populations, and then help feed that information not only back to city stakeholders but back to citizens where it matters, so that people see that they are adding up to something bigger. Because I think the behavioral science that we've seen and have tested shows that people want to know that their actions are contributing alongside many other people, given the scale of the challenge that we're all trying to tackle together. So I will stop there. Hope that gives you a little bit of a sense of what we're doing and what we can do to support cities, both on the front end of engaging as well as on the back end of understanding what the impact of citizen pledges are that are happening.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Eric. And thanks so much to Tom and Barbara as well. It's really great to see these snapshots of how cities can be a part of the pact universe, essentially. And I really like how you put it, Eric, in terms of, we're here to support and promote those roots of existing relationships we hold dear to really make, the impact that we want to see for a better world. So thanks for that. And as I mentioned, these are only, nuggets. These are only just a few ways of how people can get involved with the Climate Pact. And so I'd encourage everyone to visit the European Climate Pact website to learn about other ways of getting involved. Katerina mentioned becoming an ambassador. You can take part in events or discussions, or even organize your own, and much more. And the Secretariat is here to support and help you through your journey throughout the process. So please don't hesitate to get in contact. And with that, I think I will hand back over to Katerina to wrap us up. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, I see that we have like 5 minutes left. And to be honest, I would prefer to hear, what do you think about the Climate Pact? So I would rather offer those 5 minutes to you, to cities, if I can give you 1 minute each. So 1 minute to Gitte, 1 minute to Christian, to Christina, and to Said, because I really loved your stories and you are doing it. So my question is, how can the Climate Pact support you now that you listened to the presentation? And also maybe to share the view, like how it could help either you or maybe other cities in your regions. How could we support you at city, regional, national level? Thanks a lot. And to me, this is really rather a start of a nice collaboration, how we can really scale up these local climate pacts, because it's amazing what you are doing. Thanks a lot. So do I call Gitte first?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's very interesting, but right now we haven't decided how we can which way we should join the pact or make pledges. So, but I think it has been very inspiring hearing the presentations. So it's easier for me now to go further on with the thinking. Thank you.
Yeah, it's I'm not expecting, I don't want to put you under the spotlight, like how to commit a pledge, you know, so it's really like, how do you feel about it? Is there really added value? Because I within the commission together with Tom, Gabriel, Eric, we really want to work on something that makes sense, that can support cities. So it's more about like feeling, and is it needed to have such an umbrella at EU level? Is it about sharing the experiences, scaling up, using the steps using the count us in, so really the dashboard? Would it make sense? So maybe just like how it feels at this moment. Yeah, so yeah, or another one like Christian.
Yeah.
No real commitment is expected.
Thank you. Well, I think what would be helpful for us, for our climate pact with the companies, would be more visibility on a European level, maybe. Or what would be really helpful would be a connection to a similar network with companies somewhere in Europe. So these are some ideas that just came to my mind.
Super, thank you. Christina, I go order as you spoke, so.
Yes, I'm afraid that will take longer because it's the kind of mentality. So with young people, it's really easy, with schools especially, but with old people, maybe because of our dictatorial time we had with Salazar decades ago, people had a mentality avoiding municipalities and politicians and all that. So that will take longer, I'm afraid.
Yeah,
but maybe showing the younger ones it works. Maybe for the future that wouldn't be a problem.
I face the same problem at home because my children, they are very green, and if I talk to my mother, I don't pass the message. And yet I feel that if my daughter talks to her grandma, suddenly the grandma's ears open up, and what my daughter says, it's actually so cool, and she would even prepare a vegetarian dish. So maybe there is a huge potential connecting by heart, and older people, they are sensitive to children, and I feel that they would also find time to support their grandchildren or children in their neighborhood to become really climate activists because of this, of sharing.
Yes, but that works in an environment point of view, but not related to the municipalities. That's the problem. If it was a green association, it was a NGO, it was okay. They will reach us, they will work with us. But because we are municipalities, so related with the politicians, that's the problem, I'm afraid.
Maybe the Climate Pact Ambassadors, now that I'm thinking, because this can work, that young people, climate pact ambassadors would work with you and they could be this bridge.
Yeah, they could be, that could be a solution, yes. Yeah, make a bridge, yes.
Site? Site, yes. I don't know if I say it right, sorry.
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Karina. Yes, I think this is something that needs to grow, right? I mean, you cannot have it right from day one. And I think it has the potential, the Climate Pact, to involve other type of organizations, maybe less formal organizations, to mobilize people. I think the challenge, therefore, is how to further connect these, not only at EU level, but also more locally, closer to each other. Maybe that makes it easier and more tangible, and you know, and about things they care about. And so I think the only way to get there is, of course, to increase the number of participants, maybe include also many more schools and other type of organizations that are very close to people. You know, this way you can actually capture different generations, as you witness yourself, right? The children, the teachers, the parents, the grandparents. And I think from a city perspective, it could help to see more good practices that can be inspiring. And so it certainly would be useful. And I think what I understand from what you're doing, this will happen, is to cluster, let's say, these ideas, you know, topic to topic, so that it's easy for a city just to check out, okay, there are good ideas around mobility. Where can I find this kind of group together that can maybe inspire us? And maybe then also have the contact details, or you can have, I don't know, topical communities or something like that. People working around the same type of challenges. I mean, just a few ideas.
This is very, yeah, thank you, Said. Yeah. I think that it brings the spirit of I'm not alone and I can get inspired, and together everything is easier. And I believe that also together there is more way to really scale up the actions, and also to access maybe financing. So we also want to signpost to EU funds and also national funds, and inspire other national authorities or member states to finance these actions, because I was very much impressed by what you are saying. And I wonder why other cities or regions just, why they don't do it. So it's also the question. As Gabriel and Tom, they were talking about these exchange networks. So my question would be, and we are closing because I know I'm super late, 2 minutes late. Would you like to be part of such network to share what you do, or would you like to be part of such network, maybe on a topic, or share like holistically, like what you do, what you can share, and also like where you need support, maybe from another city. And I also see in the chat that, yes, there are many actions already in place, and that sometimes it's confusing. And now European Climate Pact. I definitely hear you, Maria, because me working in the Commission, I do need to keep up with all these initiatives and understand what everything is doing. Green City Accord, what we do here, what structural funds are doing. It's not easy, and the aim is to really work in a holistic way and to have one message also to cities, the holistic package. So definitely work on that, and hopefully the pact could be that place together with the Covenant, because also Covenant is an initiative that has been here since 2008. So our aim is to really build it together. So there is no need to reinvent the wheel. The contrary, the 10,000 cities that are within the Covenant of Mayors. So there is political commitment. So we would like to work with these cities to talk about concrete actions and how this could be measured and communicated under the European Climate Pact. So stay tuned. Frederick, thank you. And sounds like a one-stop shop for cities would be, from Tatiana. Hopefully we do that. And I also know that Covenant of Mayors is one-stop shop. So we're really doing it together. And with these words, I conclude today. I'm really happy that you joined, because for us from the Commission, and also now with the Secretariat, with Tom, Gabrielle, and Eric, and our partner, Eric, and of course, Covenant of Mayors. Yeah, we need to work together to see how to serve you the best. So thank you very much for coming. And this is just the beginning. Thanks a lot. And stay tuned, as Frederick is saying. Thank you. Yeah, maybe I suggest, because we are from different cities, can we say bye in our native language? So I hear that.
Servus, ciao.
Naschledanou.
Au revoir.
Bye bye.
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego, muy bien.
Tot ziens.
Tschüss.
I like how it sounds even different, how we change the sound.
Servus zusammen, ciao.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Au revoir.